Greetings and welcome to yet another episode of Outstanding Sri Lankan Young Role Models. We bring to you amazing, inspiring stories of people who refuse to be silent, refuse to walk away, and stand up for what is right, and ensure that their nation, our nation, is better for it, and that justice will prevail, healing will be reality, and transformation will be happening within our lifetime. Today I have Milani Salpitikorale. Milani Salpitikorale is a past pupil of St. Bridget's Convent. She has a LLB from the University of London and Masters in Law in Human Rights from Queen Mary University of London. She is also the Executive Director of Child Protection Force, an organization that was founded by her for children who come into contact with juvenile justice system. She renders a massive service to the community through her work at the Child Protection Force. She also works closely with the state on law reforms and formulating reports for child protection laws and other laws relating to the child. She is also specialized in civil law practice and runs her own chambers, Salpitikorale Chambers. She undertakes work pertaining to property, family, labor, immigration, testamentary, corporate, and notarial practices. She is currently a lecturer to undergraduates sitting for the University of London LLB program at ICLS. Part of her pro bono work also includes appearing on behalf of survivors of domestic violence. In addition to helping with them with pro bono legal services, she also connects them to safe temporary accommodation and reintegration plans. She is the mother of 2 young ones and takes absolute pleasure in spending time with her small family. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for the amazing work you do, but taking time to have a conversation with me.
Thank you for inviting me, Prashant.
It's
Thank you.
Absolute privilege to talk to you. Milani, I know you're an activist, a lawyer, you've got so much experience and so much professional qualifications, but that didn't happen overnight. You had to work at it. And how did you become competent to be able to have the impact that you're having today? Over the years, what are certain key moments and key decisions that you took that helped you come to where you're today?
I'm going to go far back. Being raised by a single father, my mother died when I was 8. And all we saw was him working. So he was a lawyer. So by default, this happened by default. But we've seen how hard he worked solely for the commitment for his children, the 3 of us. And I've seen in his chamber, because we had to always be with him. After school, we're in his office, we go home with him. And I've seen how he treats different clients. He's very particular about time, very particular about professionalism. But I've seen an amazing quality of how he doesn't charge clients who can't afford it. And I think I completely took over just that single point. After he passed, I took oaths after he passed. I wanted to be a vet, actually. That's what my daughter wants to be now. But by default, like I said, I became a lawyer. And I went to a friend, senior lawyer, and I said, look, my father died. I don't think I can go on. I don't think this is going to work. And mind you, I wasn't an A grade student. I failed my A-levels. But I passed my degree very well. And then I went and told him, no, I don't think this is going to work. Maybe I'll look into another profession. And he said, Milani, I've been where you are right now. And the one advice I got from a senior lawyer was, there was a word used, I'm not going to use it here, but he said, take the ball and run. Don't look back, just run. And I met him last weekend, and I said, maybe 10 years after I met you, I just took the ball and ran. And it was a lot of hard work. I went through a phase of a premature baby, giving birth to a premature baby, postnatal depression after my second. So a complete phase of a lot of emotional overwhelm. But when I worked with the senior Supreme Court judge, who was very passionate about child rights, she kept introducing me to people who are, from the bottom of their heart, they want to do something. And I believe children and animals are the one being, the 2 beings that have no voice at all, right? Because one thing I believe is children don't have a vote. So not many people care. I mean, okay, whatever. But what you don't realize also at the policy level is if you don't have a secure future for the children, if you don't have the safety of children right now secured, in another 25 to 30 years, your state is going to, it's going to crash.
Yeah.
You have to have children who are emotionally intelligent. So that means they need to be safe. It's not just a child protection matter. When a case comes into court, you take it and then you make sure the case is won. It's a whole beginning of, awareness. It's a beginning of prevention, so that the child is not put into that vulnerable situation, and also empowering the child so that the child is, So the journey actually started with the Supreme Court judge, the liking towards law, the wanting to commit towards this cause. I was very afraid. I started off with 5,000 rupees and got a small office. And I think I wrote and crushed away at least 100 proposals. Some of my proposals were, how would you use the word, is taken away by larger organizations and completely submitted, and and you're left behind with nothing. But I persisted. Persistence is I think it's my key strength. And also in things like, I would never use influence. If I have a problem with law enforcement, I would write, and the power of a properly written letter is excellent. And also, again, persistence. You keep following up, so that is where the commitment came. Right now, Prashant, I'm at a very absolutely happy, content place. Of course, I have a lot of financial requirements. I have to feed my children, My husband and I are barely keeping this boat together, but very happy, very content with what I'm doing, and yeah.
It's absolutely inspiring, and we're so grateful for the amazing work you're doing. But how hard you work to get there. Sometimes people think, you can just do great work and everybody will applaud you. But like you said, that the hard 10 years of personal challenges.
I completed my master's last year while the Easter attacks were going on, and with COVID. While having my kids around, I used to wake up at 3 o'clock, and the LLM is not easy, and it was on queer human rights, specializing in the child. It's a lot of content to study. So it's never too late. I'm 35 years old now, but I just completed my master's, hoping to write the proposal for my doctorate on, again, child rights and youth justice in Sri Lanka. But I've been postponing it since last year because now the work is very overwhelming.
Yeah, I love that you didn't hold back on talking about the realities of how difficult those 10 plus years have been. Since that senior told you to run with the ball, it hasn't been, all success stories and joy. You've had to persevere, as you said. But in all of this, you've not just persevered, but you've done it with integrity and character. I'm sure there were times that you could have stolen out, maybe to a larger organization that had a bit of funding. You just could go there and do a small job where it's not heading in the right direction, but you could have just, that's something that's luring a lot of young people these days. Just go work somewhere, get a good salary and act as if you're doing good work. Or you could have, cut corners to become a more affluent lawyer or so on. But you stuck to your integrity and you held strong character values. Why is that important to you? And tell us some examples of how you had to stay clear of those wrong decisions.
So when I was, again, I'm going to go back. When I was small, my brother got sick, got pneumonia. He was hospitalized, nothing much. Really affected me. Because now, single parent also, no? I was vegetarian as a sacrifice to get my brother back home. And my father planted a seed, and he was, everywhere he went, he used to tell people. I was very small, I must have been 9 or 10. She's a very determined girl. She's very determined. So I think that stayed, and that determination has always been, again, a key strength. And towards that, no. I'm also, I wouldn't say it's a positive point, but I'm also very headstrong. And I've had trouble with my husband, with my sister, complaining about this, you don't listen. But that headstrong, getting what I want, which is a correct thing, has always helped me. And I would never touch anything illegal. Everything is legally done, process-wise. I have never tried to bribe a police officer, even for a work matter, but never for my personal anyway. So I think it's that conscience, will your heart agree with what you're doing? And that is where it came from. And that also started with, was always determined, was always headstrong. Since I was in school, you'd have a lot of my friends saying, my God, she's a real thug. But that completely changed. 360-degree turn when I went within. And this happened after my son was born. I started doing neuro-linguistic programming, which is a very simple method of going within and start clearing your traumas and start clearing your conscience. And that really helped. With this journey, with my family, with my children, bringing up my children, it's a complete thing. It's not just this. It's not just the work I do. It has to come from within. If that's what you want to make, the change. And the strongest wording I believe in is, if you want to make a change in the world, then start from yourself. And that has gone a long way. Very important things like integrity, honesty, conscience. These are very important to me. And even with my juniors, if you'd see in our office, if you'd come in, you'd see puppies running around. It's a very homely environment. People are very casually working because you have to give them that space to open up. This job isn't easy. It takes a lot of emotional stress on you if you know some of the cases we're doing. So to handle that emotion, you have to give yourself time as well. So even myself, I know that when I am overwhelmed, or rather when my batteries are low, I know when to take a break. And I know my biggest grounding is jumping into the sea. So I know when to go and jump into the sea and have a good swim and then get my batteries recharged and come back. And that is very important. Something that I believe a lot of young people don't understand. They think it's work. But no, it's important to give yourself that time as well. So it comes from a place from within, and you have to start accepting that place within.
That's very good advice. And I just want to move on to, I think, one of your core things that shine from your story is this deep well of compassion for our nation's children. And you have not just been moved. Sometimes people say, I feel sorry, I feel sad about the situation, but not many people do anything. But you're creating an entire life around wanting to respond. How did you move with compassion, and why is this such a big issue for you? Because sometimes people don't even realize how bad Sri Lanka's situation is when it comes to our children. So give us a little bit of a snapshot of that and why you're moved with compassion to respond the way you do.
I would say the situation is really bad because a lot of people are unaware. Even if you use the word educated by paper, people who are educated are also unaware of this extremely unsafe environment in Sri Lanka for our children. We have parents who think it's okay to leave a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old at home and close the door and go away. So they don't think about all the things that can happen to them. So the situation is very scary. There's a whole, I'm not going to use the statistics, but there's a whole load of cases being reported each day, and a bigger load of cases that are not reported because child abuse, I'm not only talking about sexual abuse, but the entire lot of abuse is normalized. So it is very scary. And a lot of activists and people just see the headlines of a story and they go towards an angry activism of, say, blaming the government, blaming the law enforcement. Okay, definitely they do have a massive duty, but the blame game is not going to work anymore, Prashant. It's, you need to start. If you're going to talk about it, then you have to be able to act on it. So that is that commitment, time commitment especially, emotional and physical commitment. We have days that we go to Vaunia at 3 o'clock in the morning and we come back the same day. It's a difficult drive, and I drive. We have a very, I would say, cabal car that has thankfully taken us all over the country. But I drive, and the team, we go, we settle the matters, and we come back. So it's a lot of time commitment. But if you do have that time, say you see a child who is unsafe on the road, if you can spare that 10 minutes to stop and ask why, and to stop and call law enforcement and say there is a child who is unsafe, it is your duty to come here. So, and also that compassion came from a lot of cases. And another one of my seniors said at the beginning, he said, I'm so glad that you have taken this up. My dear, please don't lose your mojo. So these were like snippets of things that I heard from my seniors that I took along. So I made sure that I didn't lose my mojo. You know, the stories we hear on a daily basis are extremely traumatic. But we also have come to a point where we differentiate our emotions. I still have PTSD with our cases. Like I would wake up at 2 o'clock thinking, oh my God, what that child would have gone through. But I also know how to handle that PTSD, and you know.
And it's amplified when you're a parent as well.
Exactly, absolutely. One day I had a dream of, so I went for the case, I came back. That night I had a dream of that girl being my daughter. I went downstairs, pale as a ghost, and my husband had to hold me and say, what's going on, what's going on? So I had to take about 3 or 4 days break, just stay at home and cry it out and take it easy for a few days because I couldn't handle that. So, so the compassion comes from there, but it is also very important that we hold back our emotion with regard to a case, because you need to look at what is the best thing you can do for that child. And it's not always appearing as a lawyer. Sometimes, you know, the children, they come and they hide behind a sari. So it's like that physical attention that they need. Sometimes they go near a shop and their eyes go big when they see something. So it's that stop there, buy them something to eat, sit them down on your lap sometimes. So it's not a typical lawyer's job. But you have to have that want and that compassion and that passion to make the change for children, because when you realize the emotional trauma that they go through, forget about the physical trauma. Okay, that is physical, you can see it, it can be medically treated. But the emotional trauma, which will come out 25 years to 30 years later, that is what Sri Lanka needs to worry about. And that is what we need to start making a change individually. Each one of us need to actually step up and make the change.
So coming towards the end of the conversation, Milani, I just want to talk to you about, so what's that end game? In the work that you're doing today, how do you know that you and all of us have made progress, that we have accomplished certain things? And for those who want to be involved in this kind of response, where should they put their attention to and efforts to right now?
How do I know a change has been made? Mostly with our success stories, our clients. I have daily clients who call and say, Miss Godak Ping. You know, just for giving them that sense of safety, comfort. That is one way. And the other way is also how now we can see also policy makers referring to us, or, you know, all I'm saying is use of knowledge. We don't need credit for anything. Just use this knowledge that we have, the experience that we have, because we work at the bottom. So every time we work at the bottom, also state actors, so the grassroots level state actors, we know what their problems are. And something that I always keep saying is the resource allocation has to start bottoms up. Right now, resource allocation is top to bottom, but no, with this sector at least, child protection sector at least, resource allocation needs to start bottoms up, because there is a lot of physical work that the grassroots level actors need to do, state actors. And there is a already existing team. It's superb. So it's just to, you know, to empower them. So vision would be, for example, I mean, I'll take the closest country, Singapore, right? Same jurisdiction, British colony, same laws. But why is their crimes against children, the percentage is extremely low compared to ours. Ours is, I think, I think it's one of the highest, also the top high in Asia. So it can't be, there has to be something that we need to aim for that. Or some of the European countries that have their country's policies. One of their top policies are children. Because these are developed countries who are thinking about the future of the country. So I think that as much as women and children, you also might be knowing that the national budget allocation is also very small, right? But I think it needs to be made one of the top priorities in the country if we are going to think about the future of Sri Lanka. It's extremely important to get child policy at the top level.
Thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you for inspiring us all. In closing, if you can tell our viewers how they can learn more about your organization, where they can find you, and how they can get involved, that would be very helpful. So
I think our most active is the social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, which is Child Protection Force. We also have a website, childprotectionforce.org, and you can always reach out. I mean, I'm always willing to help, but I always keep saying 24 hours of the day is not enough. I need more time. But if there are even young members, youth who want to actually learn about what we do and come in and have a chat with me, please do. Always welcome. Our doors are always open.
Thank you. Milani, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
That's the end of today's episode, but we have much more coming to you in the weeks ahead. But I want you to be inspired, encouraged, especially if you're somebody who wants to see something different in this country. Be part of a transformation. You're not alone. There are amazing people who are leading the way, and I hope you were inspired today. Join us again for another episode of Outstanding Young Sri Lankan Role Models. Thank you.